Welcome back, everybody, to the My Generation podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic evening. On today's episode, we're once again revisiting the music creating process. We speak to young artists now all over the world about their music, their love, their passion, and what they do. And today, we're speaking to Chrissy about her brand new song, which is making waves all across the world. And we've got our regular weekly features too, so stay tuned later in the show for some of that as well. We've got Sammy Bacon's album reviews. Harry Monday does a film review with us every single week. And then we've got video game reviews, poetry, and some history and stories of old from Tom. All of that coming up on the My Generation podcast throughout the show. But before we get to all of that, welcome to the show, Chrissy.
Hello, Max. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's my pleasure to take part in your podcast. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. It's good to hear you're well. Really appreciate you coming on. We're talking about obviously your new song. Could you tell us a bit about what the song is about? And we're going to be playing it very shortly. So what's the
Yeah,
message in this song?
of course. The message it's about hoping and searching for your soulmate. Um, I was writing this song with this idea, and it is based on the idea of a soulmate. You know, it shows that in life you are sometimes searching for things, and I think that the song it's bringing positivity to the people right now because we are in this current time where people need some positive music to listen to, and I really hope that I can share this feeling with them.
Yeah, it's a really lovely song. It's called "If You Love Me," and it's got sort of like a. I've listened to your songs, and this is sort of a slower paced song for you, isn't it? It's a lot more of like an emotional piece. Why did you sort of take this approach with this sort of subject matter? It's a really lovely song, but it's sort of a very emotional style.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy that you like it. Right now, I was or at the moment I'm very inspired by emotional songs, and I think I'm in this vibe right now. Let's say I love to do songs like this, like to and I want that my listeners can identify with songs like that, with my songs. And I think that listeners can identify with very good with songs that are emotional.
Absolutely, yeah, really tapping into your audience. And obviously, you aren't based like some of the guests we've had on this show. You're not based in Kent. You're based in Germany. So, what part of Germany are you based in, and what's it like there?
I'm based in Baden-Württemberg. It's nice. I love the place where I'm living. Also because I can write songs. I can get inspired. The nature, for example, bringing me inspiration. Yeah, I love the place where I'm living. And it's cool that you can find, for example, musical people that you can work with and share your ideas with.
And I'm not going to attempt to try and pronounce that name, just out of sheer respect for it, because I will butcher the name of your wonderful place of residence. But no, it sounds fantastic. So,
Thank you.
what's the music scene like there? Is it what's it like at the moment in these sort of crazy times we're living in?
Yeah. At the moment, of course, you can't have any live shows, unfortunately, and I really miss live shows and to perform and to be on stage because that's very important for an artist. In general, you can perform live, for example, in cafes or theaters or places for live shows, and the people are very nice, and yeah, they listen to your music very carefully.
Fantastic. I know
Yeah.
obviously the lockdown situation is very different in Germany right now and across the world. So for the context of you listening, this is the 13th of November. Currently sitting in a lockdown 2 here in England. So at home most of the time, or uni for me. So it's obviously a very different world all across the world. So wherever you're listening, I hope you're keeping safe and well. And as we move forward through the discussion, I'd love to ask Chrissy in just a moment about different places she's performed pre-lockdown, maybe some of her favourite live performances she's done. But before we do that, I'd love to play her song. So this is the song If You Love Me by Chrissy. Chrissy, is there anything else you wanted to add before we jump into the song?
I hope you like it. Have fun listening to it.
Thank you, Chrissy. So here on the My Generation podcast, it's If You Love Me by Chrissy.
We are unusual, that kind of special. We are who we are. We are familiar, baby. We're not afraid to be who we wanna be. It's nice to know someone who understands me. My soulmate standing there. I am not an alien to him. Hey, I love the way you say, if you love me, stay. Hey, we put our glasses on, we ignore the world. Hey, you said if you love me, if you love me. We're from a different planet, peculiar dreams, two hearts, the same heartbeat. It's nice to know someone who could read your mind with eyes closed.
And that was If You Love Me by Chrissy here tonight on the My Generation podcast. What a lovely, lovely tune. I've been listening to it all on repeat as I've been building up to this podcast episode. A fantastic tune. And
Thank you.
written by Chrissy, who's with us today. So it's a beautiful song. And Chrissy, I know you've performed a lot of stuff live yourself. So I'd love to ask about, some of your favorite places that you've performed.
I performed at a lot of places, but my favorite one was, for example, I think it was 2 years ago in Frankfurt. It was in the Commerzbank Arena. And the event was called Rockin' 1000, and there were many people there, and you could sing with them. Yeah, it was a great feeling. I could see how it is to perform in such a big arena, and of course I dream to perform one day this place again. Also in Ravensburg, where I live. It's the city where I live, and it's the Oberschwabenschau. It's also a big place, and I could perform there with my guitar, my old music, and I performed there my old song To Strangers and the other songs.
Yeah, they sound like amazing venues. And one thing that sort of struck me about the song, and I don't know if this applies to when you perform, but the song "If You Love Me," it's in English, which is obviously not your native language. So why did you choose to do this song in English?
I love to do my songs in English. I don't know. I can identify with English. I love English. That's what I also learn. It's my favorite subject in school. I think it's because I also listen to famous singers, and they are singing also in English, and I like their music. I wanted to do songs like this too.
That's fantastic, because I know language is such an interesting subject. A subject we had on a few weeks ago on the podcast, speaking to Abby Anderson-Jones. We talked to her about she's learning Welsh, and we were talking about why we need languages. And so there's a few artists I listen to who, there's a Russian artist I listen to, and he does songs with a mix of English and a mix of Russian. So is there sort of songs you've done in German as well, or are you sort of exclusively English in your music?
No, I never tried something like this before. Right now, I just sing all of my songs in English. I don't know, maybe someday, but right now I'm planning all of my songs in English.
That is so fascinating to me, because obviously when it comes to language, I don't go out and hear many songs, obviously pre-lockdown I didn't hear many songs performed in other languages, but hearing that English is clearly so common to sing songs around the world, which is crazy. But all of Chrissy's stuff you can understand. If you're listening to this podcast, you can understand Chrissy's work. It's fantastic. So Chrissy, what for you is some of the stuff you got coming up next? Because I know we talked a little bit pre-podcast. I know it's classified information at the moment, but what's coming up next for you?
For me, it's coming, like I'm planning the next few songs that I'm going to release, and I'm going to release, they all belong to my EP. My debut EP called Chrissy the Other Day. For this, I've been working since a lot of time, and it was hard work. I've been also in the last couple of months, I've been in the studio where I recorded my songs for my EP.
Wonderful. So there's so much going on musically for you. It's clear that there's we've had your song come out now. You've done a lot of work for it, and you've got stuff coming up. So If You Love Me has really sort of skyrocketed for you, hasn't it? It's sort of it's taken off on your social media. I know it's so many people are listening to it. You can use it as a track on Instagram and TikTok now as well. What's the feeling sort of being around that? Because that must be kind of crazy for you.
Yeah, I've seen that you can use it also on Instagram or on TikTok. And of course, this was my dream also when I was younger. And now that it's happening, I don't know, I almost can't believe it that it's happening, but it's cool. And um, yeah, I think I'm very happy that the people liked this song, and I hope that they are going to like also my next songs because you know, as an artist, you at the beginning you don't know if the people are going to like the song or not, and you know, to hear their feedback, and yeah, it's awesome.
And I did want to ask about the writing process for you because I know we've spoken before, and writing is clearly a massive inspiration for you, and you do it
Yes.
so often. So when you make a song, do you start with the lyrics or do you start with a beat? Where does it begin?
I always write things down. I have some notebooks for my songs. Um, and I start with the lyrics. That's how I also started for If You Love Me. But at the beginning, it was actually a completely different song. But then I come up with the chorus, and I had some scenes in my mind, like for example, like for the lyrics, "Hey, I love the way you said, if you love me, stay." And I could imagine all these two people, these two characters, speaking to each other. And then I came up with the verses. I'm always writing songs with also with my guitar. I'm playing guitar and writing lyrics, and I come up with different melodies, and yeah, that's how I create a song. And then I have some ideas for the sound, and then I go to the studio and record my ideas.
Fantastic. So,
Yeah.
so what studio do you go to, and when it comes to sort of the building of the soundscape, that all comes from you.
Yeah, I go to a lot to Berlin. You know, you can record there, and I the studio where I recorded my songs was is called Holy Temper Records. It's cool because I can work with very talented producer, and he understands my ideas. Yeah.
Clearly got so much experience, especially at such a young age, because you're doing all this studio recording, and what, you're 18 as well. So it's
Yes.
how long have you been doing this for?
I always liked music when I was younger too, and I started with singing when I was in primary school. I discovered like songs, very famous songs from different stars, and I wanted to sing like them, and I started to sing these songs, and then I went into the school band. It was a long journey to discover my musical taste too. And then I started to write my own songs, and this was 3 years ago.
So up until that point, you're sort of doing covers, and then moved into original music based off of the sort of writing you'd
Yes,
always done.
yes. I've been doing covers too. I had my own YouTube channel, and I still have my own YouTube channel, but now with my own music. But I was doing covers with songs that artists, very famous artists, are singing.
Fantastic. Well, Chrissy, in a moment, I want to ask about, because we've had so many different genres on this show. We've had jazz singers, jazz and swing. We've had pop. We've had rock, mod rock, indie, and we always have to ask about what makes that genre special. So in just a moment, I'm going to ask Chrissy about the genre that she makes of music and why that genre is so important. But before I do, we've got our weekly features here on the show. We've got the first two here for you. It's the treats, that is Sammy Bacon and Harry Monday. Sammy, we'll start with him as always. He has a weekly album review feature here on the show. We recommend new music every single week here on the My Generation podcast, and here is Sammy's introducing it. Here is the album that Sammy would love to recommend for you all this week.
Right, what's going on, everybody? This week, recommending you the Speedy Wonderground Year 4 compilation. Speedy Wonderground is the label of South London producer Dan Carey, and it is a label which is has released singles of so many of the best young bands in the UK, bands like Black Midi, Squid, Sinead O'Brien, to name but a few, and at the end of every year they do a compilation album of all the singles they released this year, and the fourth one is one I've listened to and it is very good. The first few tracks are by Black Midi, Squid, and Scotty Brains. And the fourth track's Black Country New Road. How could you forget? Speedy Wonderground's a fantastic label to just check out and know about. Dan Carey as a producer as well has so many interesting and just has a great production style. Apparently with Speedy Wonderground, when they're writing a single, the whole thing needs to be done in one day, and whatever is done in that day is in the song. It's about sort of capturing the song on that day, I guess. It has BM, which was the first single off Black Midi's debut album, I think. Anyway, that's just this weirdly repetitive but disturbing track. It just has this kind of just one guitar line and bass, and it just goes through the whole song. There's this swirling, distorted vocal sample just twirls and swirls and does other stuff around the song, just boom, boom. It's one of the most disorienting songs I've heard. Black Country New Road are great with Athens, France, with a few British reference. Black Country New Road debut album should be announced soon. Speedy Wonderground, Year 4, it's on Spotify, it's on all that stuff. Check out the bands on Speedy Wonderground, a lot of them are worth checking out. Speedy Wonderground, Year 4, Black Country New Road, Squid, Black Midi, Sinead O'Brien, others. Nice.
Thank you for that, Sammy. We'll tune in with Sammy once again next week to find out what his next album review is. Do let us know in the comments whether you're listening on YouTube, SoundCloud or Spotify what you think of the albums that Sammy reviews here on the show. It's always an eclectic mix with Sammy, same with all of our features, so we have loads of variety, so let us know if an album has resonated with you. Now, before we go back to Chrissy to ask about why rock and pop and indie music to her is so important, but before we do, we're going to Harry Monday. Harry does a weekly film review here on the show, bringing you a new genre-style cinematic experience every single Thursday. And here is the film that Harry would love to share with you all this week.
Hey, Max. Hope all's going well around your side of the woods. It's dear old Harry again, back with another weekly movie recommendation. This week's recommendation is the amazing family film, The Princess Bride. Now, I know this movie came out years ago, but this honestly still stands the test of time. To this day, it is one of the best narrative stories I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing. And you can't argue, with the amount of memes it's made, it's got quite a bit of comedy running through it also. And as I think a lot of people quite said, this is just every genre of a movie blended into one. It's got romance, it's got action, it's got comedy, it's got horror, it's got thrills, and it's all essentially just a kids' film. That's the amazing part. You've blended all of this into like a high quality masterpiece, and you've made this family friendly. And I can't just mention this movie without mentioning my personal idol, Inigo Montoya. Heart goes out to you, lad. Heart goes out. This movie still, as I said, stands the test of time. Compared to most family-friendly movies nowadays, the only thing you could probably compare this to is Toy Story 3. Another movie I recommend. Might do in the future. Wink, wink. But for now, Princess Bride just stands out as the best example of how to do everything perfectly. Just utter perfection in every shot. It just exudes what it's aiming for. And you can feel just the passion behind everything. In fact, even Andre the Giant, the world's most intimidating wrestler, you managed to turn him into the most lovable oaf ever in this film. This was John Cena before John Cena was even thought about. This was Dwayne Johnson back when he was still in diapers. You've got the Princess Bride standing out, showing decades upon decades of films how to do family-friendly fun. And I recommend you see this movie straight away.
Thank you for that, Harry. Once again, tuning in with Harry next week for his next film review. Again, in the comments, let us know if you've seen the film that Harry's recommended here on today's show. We've got some great discussion coming up with Chrissy and those lovely weekly features as you come to know and love them here on the My Generation podcast. Now going back to Chrissy. Chrissy, I wanted to ask about your genre of music that you play. How would you best describe it? Because you've got a blend of a few genres in there. And why to you is that so important?
Yeah, I am doing actually pop music, but what I like about pop music is that you can add different influences from other genres. I also do pop rock music, and yeah, I think it's in pop, it's really cool that you can experiment with sounds. Of course, you have to be careful, but that it still stays in this pop genre, but you can be so creative in pop music. And it's also cool that so many people are listening to pop music, and yeah.
Yeah, you are capturing the hearts of one of the biggest genres of music imaginable. So it's it's no surprise in combination with your talent that the song's blowing up. So do follow Chrissy on Instagram, or make sure her links are in the description so you can keep following her musical journey. But Chrissy, do you think that you will sort of branch out of pop at all, or is your next music sort of still staying within that genre?
I think that right now I really want to stay in this genre of pop music, but I will add some new sounds and new things, definitely.
Obviously you've got the pop elements, but the song "If You Love Me," it's a very slower paced pop song, so it is sort of striking a few different chords. And now that you guys have heard it on the show, I'd love to know in the comments what you think of "If You Love Me." So obviously we now got a bit of insight from Chrissy herself as to what the song is all about. Is this a song you've performed live as well, or has it just been a studio release?
No, it was just being a studio release. I didn't, till right now, I didn't have the chance to perform it live, but I'm planning to do a live stream and to sing the song live. But of course, I hope that someday I can perform it live at a real live show. This would be cool.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, in this time, it's just so weird. So the
Yeah.
ways as musicians, the communities have been adapting. Some bands have, been able to perform outside. So there's a band that we've had on the show. They were called Renegade. They're now called Primer. If you tune into episode, I believe 30 of the podcast, really testing my memory here, 30 or 31. We talked about them, but they have been able to perform outdoors in a car park and have people coming along to watching them play. So it's fascinating how people have still been able to do music in this crazy time. So have you been performing in cafes as well? And
right now, no. I didn't perform, I think, since some months ago. But what I'm doing right now is communicating with my fans on social media, on Instagram, because I think you can talk with them also on social media. Of course, it's not the same thing like you would perform live and see their reaction in real life, but social media is also very great to be able to talk with your fans.
Yeah, and it's such a good way for you to be able to reach out, because obviously, you're based in Germany and making waves outside of your own country through the power of social media. So obviously the world has not fully opened back up yet. We're not quite there yet. But if like you said in there, we want to get to the point where you're able to perform again, like with all of the artists I've spoken to. It's the absolute dream right now. Is there if you had to pick one place where you would love to perform next, if you could choose one place around the world, anywhere that you've seen, where would it be if you could only choose one?
I really want to perform in London one day. It's my dream, but also, of course, I don't know, in Germany, or I don't know, a tour would be really cool.
That's fascinating. So what is it about London? Like, have you visited before?
Yes, I visited London 2 years ago, and it's very fascinating because that diversity and in general the culture is it's different. Um, it's different than what's in Germany, of course, and new things are always interesting.
Fascinating, because it's there's so much, obviously not in lockdown, but so much musical, as you said, diversity, so many different places to perform, different styles and different people. So I do one day hope you're able to get that dream come true and perform in London. I know from experience
Hopefully.
that the experiencing music in London is great. I actually before lockdown, back in February of this year of 2020, I saw my first ever gig, literally, weeks out from lockdown. It was just as the whispers of COVID-19 were starting to come in, and but before anyone knew what was going to happen. And so I was very lucky to have my first experience there. So I can feel from my experience why I loved the liveness of it so much. But why is performing music live so important?
It's important. I think it's important for every artist because you can. Personally, I love to be on stage, and I love this that feeling of being on stage. You see the people how they enjoy your music, and the atmosphere is it's incredible.
It really, really is, and
Yeah.
so that is what we ultimately aim for, and we'll hopefully get Chrissy performing in London, and if she does, we'll have to have her back on the show to see and feel what that was like, because London is quite the place to perform. If you're based in England listening to this show, you'll absolutely know that. Well, Chrissy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Max. It was also very great for me, and it was my pleasure to talk to you and to take part in this. Thank you.
And we'll keep you up to date with Chrissy's journey here on the My Generation podcast, like we do with all the other music creating episodes we've done. We've got Renegades, they're coming back on the show that I mentioned earlier, performing in a car park, but just remember, they're now called Primer. They changed their name. It's still bamboozling me. I still keep calling them Renegade. It's not good. But they are what is good is them. They're a fantastic rock band, and we're going to still be covering Ade Lewis, who's got this really silky, smooth voice, does Ade, and he's performed all over the world, actually. So we'll be looking more into Ade's travel later down the line on the show. And when you'll be listening to this, obviously we're recording in November, but this episode's going to be coming out in December. We're very, very close to Christmas. So what a crazy Christmas this will be. So we'll definitely be doing a Christmas special. We'll be potentially bringing some older guests back on the show as well. So do stay tuned on the channel for our wonderful Christmas special, as last year's was very interesting because we actually filmed that one. So that is a rather interesting episode. So do go back and check out the wild shenanigans that was episode 26, I think, which feels like a lifetime ago that we did episode 26. Wow. But yeah, Chrissy, it's been amazing having you on the show, honestly.
Thank you, Max. And what I wanted to say is that you are doing a really great job, and your podcast is amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and keep on going. That's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a great time for podcasting. It's fantastic to still be able to do this in these weird and wonderful times that we live in. So I appreciate all of your time for those of you who listened all the way through to here. So I really, really appreciate it. We've got the Christmas special. We've got Primer. So much good stuff coming on the My Generation podcast. And if there's a topic you want us to discuss, or maybe you've got a story yourself, please do reach out to us on the Facebook page at the My Generation podcast. We might be able to get you on the show in the near future. Thanks again to Chrissy. You've heard her song If You Love Me. It's going to be available. You can go back and listen in the show. It's there. It's already in the show. We've got timestamps everywhere. No excuse not to be re-listening to it. And go over to her social media and find it there. Thank you all so much for listening, everybody. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening and rest of your week. And we will tune in with you next week for the next episode of the My Generation podcast.